The theme of this year is contained in 3 words. To remember. Always to remember. Keep the memory alive. You see, you reflect back, you remember what happened. You had the testimonies from some of the victims who testified and gave you some of the facts as things happen. It's very critical, it's very important to remember. But also to unite. Because it is in solidarity, and that's why I take this as a very important occasion for us. Having come together, all of us, from all over, I can see humanity all represented here. It's not about Rwanda, it's not about East Africa, it's about the growth. It's about the solidarity of humanity. And for me, that's a very strong pillar in the fight that we must sustain in fighting the ideology of genocide and all attendant issues. Now every year, or rather the third word, is to renew. I think you heard from the poems and citations of some of these young people talking about what they went through. At some point, people thinking that in fact, life has come to an end. Even a survivor believes my family is gone, so life loses a meaning. But it's also true, and this may be the point we must recapture about renewal, is about the fact that together as a human fraternity, we are a family. There are those who lost their families, but they have been accommodated in the communities in which they live today, in the country called Rwanda in which they live today, in the international community that has also participated in renewal. At some point in 1994, some people said Rwanda was a failed state, never to exist again. Those of you who were around must have heard this kind of thing. Today, it's evident to everybody that Rwanda did not only die, but Rwanda thrived on and has built to an extent there is a lot to see and learn from. Life. Rwandans living a dignified life. Rwandans doing a lot to make sure that they give meaning to their lives and the lives of those they associate with. It's something to take note of. It's been mentioned that every year, and maybe it's common knowledge to many of you, every year on the 7th of April, for 1 week, and then through 100 days, because it took 100 days before the genocide got stopped, Rwanda takes off time, Rwandans take off time, Friends of Rwanda, indeed the international community, take off time to commemorate the genocide that was committed against the Tutsi in 1994. Let me inform those of you who may not be in the know already that in fact the UN General Assembly has now come to a point where they have even taken a resolution to make the 7th of April of every year an international year of reflection, an international day of reflection on the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. So it's something that cuts across, something that the United Nations General Assembly has had to admit and even put in place a mechanism for making the memory, keeping the memory alive. And we thank that as a good positive measure that adds to what has been happening already. So Rwandans and their friends engage in activities to commemorate genocide against the Tutsi. It is important to say that this is a moment, first of all, a very important moment to pay tribute to those who perished in the genocide against the Tutsi. Can you imagine, in 100 days, over 1 million people were brutally killed in different ways? I saw some of the acts that were on the stage here, machetes, hacking. Very unbelievable, inhuman behavior. But let me mention those who were thrown alive in the rivers, thrown in rivers. It was mentioned, here in Uganda we have 3 memorial sites. And indeed, they will also add and thank Mzee Tobani for being there, and some of his friends at the time, who found it, who really, as dignified human beings, said, no, these bodies cannot be washed all the way to where they just disappears. And so they organized to take these bodies and give them a burial. Subsequently, working with him, gave them a decent burial, so that now we have 3 out of the very many scattered graves that were in bushes. We now have 3 memorial sites, one right at the entry where the river enters Lake Victoria, at Sensero, I'm sure some of you have been there. Another one at Lambo, we shall be going there soon to the wreath. Remember, those who were there. And another one in Goro, in the nearby district of Free. Decent value. They deserve it. We can even do better. I call upon, and I thank the Rwandan community here, who have even had an initiative that we were working together, again with Mr. Tobani and other well-wishers. Because we cannot stop there, we want to make those memorial sites places which record all these facts as we talk about, so that they become centers of learning. So that if you go there, the story will be recounted, retold, not only in words, but in what you see, because I was very impressed yesterday, if I may tell you. There is a journalist, a lady journalist, I think she's from Europe, Sweden or something. When genocide was happening, she happened to be in the neighborhood of Rwanda. She went in and witnessed and took photographs. They are so horrifying that when she went back to Europe, they said, don't use them, don't ever use them. She has gone over the years now, she's brought them to Rwanda and given them to the Rwandan institution responsible for genocide and said, please, this is the documentation I had. You've received it and it's going to benefit people to learn. And no, I think truth must be told, facts must be recounted, memory must be maintained, if we have to say, never, never again, not in Rwanda necessarily, but never again anywhere in the world. Genocide has happened elsewhere, and we must say never again. You remember, again, the UN Convention of 1947-48, the Convention against for punishment of the crime of genocide, that actually coined the phrase never again. But then, several decades later, it happened, which means this what did not happen, and we must avoid that by doing what we're supposed to do. Ladies and gentlemen, let me, at this juncture, give you a small insight on what genocide means. Let me try to define it. I'm not the only one who is defining. I'm reading from people who have researched and written and have defined it. It's important to know. Because like I said, until and unless you understand it, you find it difficult to prevent, to fight it, and the ideology and defeat it. By definition, as described under international law, genocide is a systematic desire. Systematic desire. You think about it, you think, plan, think about it. It is premeditated. It goes through a strategic process. The aim being to exterminate a people. A systematic desire, premeditated strategy to exterminate and completely see a group or race of people erased from the face of the earth. Horrible. Terrible. Terrible project. And so the International Convention for the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide I talked about goes on to define it as acts intended to destroy in whole or in part a national, it could be an ethnic, or even a constructed one. It could be a religious group, or that target. There has to be a defined, targeted group. That's why the clear definition of the genocide that happened in 1994 in Rwanda targeted a section known as the Tutsis. There should never be any discrepancy about that. Because some deniers will want to talk about, you've heard about double genocide. You hear all sorts of things. Of course, the deniers, the other ones who design denial, who want to represent, plan it even as early as that. So it is targeting a group, which could be religious, could be ethnic, could be a national grouping, so that you target to exterminate the whole group or a part of it and impose measures. For example, it can be done in very many ways. Some places, even imposing methods or measures that stop birth, reproduction, the natural process of reproduction, how human beings sustain themselves. Cut the process by applying whatever measures, so that at one point the group is exterminated. So some will use machetes, like I said, but others use other methods. Some have even used methods of transferring, they get the youth. These youths I'm talking about responsible for carrying on tomorrow. Transport them and take them elsewhere else, so that that group eventually is exterminated. These are definitions as given by the convention, that is a result of a lot of time and effort to study and define this inhuman crime called genocide. So, according to that definition, genocide is committed whenever the following happen. Conspiracy to commit genocide. A conspiracy. When you conspire, you're already committing a crime. Terrible crime. Public incitement. Complicity in committing genocide. All these are acts involved when this heinous crime is being planned or being executed, at whatever stage you may be looking at it. Genocide goes through phases, characteristic phases. the phase of classification, which is that which I told you about targeting a certain group. Symbolization. You know, you begin to call people, symbolize them in a manner that is going to make them either symbolization and humanization. You make them look like they are really not human beings as such. Like when people were being called Inyenzi. Inyenzi in Rwanda means cockroach. You saw the children talking about it, the young ones? So that if you are told to kill, it's as if you are stepping on a cockroach. Even stepping on a cockroach is not good. Taking away life, living on a cockroach is not. I think conservationists would not encourage it. But you dehumanize. You make somebody look, no, he's not a human being. And that goes on for a long time. To preach and to convert people and make them believe that, yes, that life can be taken. Please go ahead and do it. It's not like you killing somebody. Terrible, terrible project.